I'd bust the windows out your car. Testing. I'd bust the windows out your car. And though it didn't mend my broken heart. Welcome to the podcast. Before I get into things, I want to give a huge shout out to the North Carolina Department of Revenue. I hate you guys. After paying a reasonable salary in taxes this past year, you've sent me another random adjustment for $4,000. So you guys are the best. It was really nice opening that up this morning at 6 a.m. But I want to talk about food and nutrition and diet and all of the interworkings of what we put in our mouths nutritionally. Get your mind out of the gutter. So, to start things off, I think one of the most important elements of the way you eat is the way you think about what you eat. So kind of the mindset and specifically information overload, which is amazingly frustrating in today's world because everyone is on social media preaching some sort of something about food, especially when you're in kind of the health and wellness space. You see it all the time. I've been thinking a lot recently about kind of the hostility that all of this information is presented with. So it's not people going, hey, let's collaborate and figure out the truth. It's people going, I really hate you because you eat different from me. And it's turned from just an opinion about what would be the healthiest diet to almost a religious relationship to the way that you eat, or kind of an ideological jail for some people. And it's interesting because for the last, I would say 9-10 years, I have completely stayed away from any kind of junk food, to put it simply. For me, it's freeing because it frees up so much mental space to think about what matters, and I just eat the same exact thing every single day. It's not really restrictive as people would think. Again, for me, it is a lot more freeing, but you see that some people cling on to the way that they eat in kind of a Gnostic fashion. They're going, I know that this is the truth. I know that this is perfect. And I feel like what that is leaving out is that the human experience is way more complex than any set of research could really cover. Because, research might represent a certain subset of people that respond a certain way to a certain way of eating. That is a certain subset of people. That research probably doesn't perfectly reflect you or me or really any one person. So it's so hard to navigate all these things. Hopefully you can have a little bit more clarity on the tail end of this podcast. The biggest thing that I could recommend is defining your priorities. So look, if you are trying to be the healthiest person in the world, you're going to be doing a little bit more research and a little bit more specific maintenance, I guess, of the way that you eat than somebody who just wants to have the most fun in the world. And you have to know the consequences of your priorities. So if you're going to be the healthiest person, well, you're going to spend a lot of time and energy on that, and money, of course. But, positively, you'll be the healthiest person in the world. So there's surely an upside to that. And for the people who just want to have the most fun and eat whatever and not really think about it, well, there might be health complications down the line. There might be a ton of guesswork when some sort of illness or sickness or whatever comes about. You have to kind of weigh the options there and know your priorities. So your priorities shouldn't be based on someone else's thinking, or rather, the way that you act and behave and treat yourself shouldn't just be arbitrarily based on someone else's thinking. You'd have to ensure that you have the same priorities as them. Because if I'm talking to someone about food and I'm going, I eat the same exact thing every day, I don't want to think about it. I want to be able to think about all of the other things that matter to me. And in their head, they're going, God, I love trying new foods. I love traveling and doing the whole thing. But they're taking what I'm saying, they're taking my advice as gospel. That'd be silly. So they would have to know what their priorities are versus mine. So I think that is the biggest, the strongest guide rather to your decision making is having a very strong understanding of your own priorities. This applies everywhere, of course. But I really think that simplicity wins. So yes, know your priorities, but I will throw out a little bit of my personal bias and encouragement that simplicity kind of rules when it comes to food. Because I think we evolved from perhaps not eating the same exact thing every day, but having kind of the same thinking and approach to the way that we eat every day. So in nature, it's not just going to be, oh, got my beef and rice over and over and over again. But there's not really this kind of external relationship of overindulgence, which I think is nearly everybody in the modern world. So I think that simplicity breeds the healthiest relationship with food. And then building from there, of course, variety and new tastes and flavors and whatnot. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to not try new things. Yeah, I think leaving as much room in your mind as possible is super, super helpful. So the hard part about navigating the food thing is that if you go, my phone keeps dinging. I forgot to shut my ringer off. Okay, there we go. So if you're gonna eat a lot of different kinds of foods and maybe some highly processed foods and things in that category, you're introducing complexity and guesswork into your life. So if you were to have an issue with something, you're going to have to look through a list of 1,000 ingredients that you're eating instead of maybe 10 to 15 different things if you had a really simple diet. Now, people argue all the time over what's healthy, what's not. And I think you can make kind of value judgments, I suppose. But when it comes down to it, you can't perfectly conclude if you don't have a molecular understanding of the stuff that you're consuming. I sure don't have that molecular understanding. So a lot of the times I'm making kind of value judgments, and I'm making those same value judgments on the people that present certain information. In this food space, if I hear somebody very angrily arguing their points in some sort of debate, and again, there's that hostility that I think is all too popular today, I don't tend to latch on to their argument and thinking right away, because I go, yeah, confidence isn't normally super loud and abrupt. I feel like confidence involves humility. So in that kind of argument, I try and figure out, okay, who seems to be the most reasonable person and how are they looking into the information, and maybe I can kind of take that on. But if you're going to be really making some claims and some strong ones, you kind of got to be a damn scientist if you're diving in that far. Either way, I mean, no matter what you decide to eat, I think the emphasis should be on the word decide, as in it is your decision. You're making a mindful choice to eat a certain way instead of just consuming things through no thinking at all. That is problematic to me. I think mindlessness is problematic in nearly every category of life. I truly think mindlessness is a killer, because it's going to lead you to poor decision making. It's going to lead you to being taken advantage of, because let's say in this little hypothetical conspiracy that there's some company out there that is making super highly processed products that are terrible for you, and they're funded by some sort of medication that solves the problem that comes from eating the thing, whatever. Again, just a little conspiracy here. Their target customer would be somebody who's not going to ask questions. So the goal of most products in the grocery store, these companies are looking to make the most convenient product. Not convenient to you, because maybe the compounded bad decisions over time of eating unhealthy food leads to some problems down the line. Again, just kind of a long-term assumption here, but convenient for them, because the convenience of creating the product, buying something very desirable to the consumer, creating something very desirable to the consumer, and selling it at a great profit margin, that is the goal. They want it to be able to sit on that shelf forever. They want you to think that it's the best thing in the world, and they want you to keep buying the damn thing. And so if you are questioning, well, what's going into this thing? They're going, hey, shut up, dude. What are you doing asking what's in this product? Just eat the thing. Right? So they want the people that go, ooh, yummy, and they just see the cool packaging and grab it, and it's just some sort of mindless response to it. I again think that is a problem. So whether you're a vegan, whether you're a carnivore, whether you're a freaking somewhere in the middle, whether you're healthy most of the time and then you eat out every once in a while, or you do whatever, it's all fine if you benefit from it, if you feel good in doing that. And if you're thinking about it, if you are making the active choice, don't be a vegan because you just see some random ad on Instagram and you go, oh, this is cute. And don't be the carnivore just because you go, dude, friggin', Liver King or whatever. It's just, you are smart enough, you are capable enough, and you ought to have an appreciation for responsibility enough to make your own decisions. And it's not to say you're not taking other people's opinions and thoughts and research into account, but you are the driver of your life. So mindlessness, huge problem. Not a fan. Now, I think when I communicate my eating habits to people who don't know me or are maybe just getting to know me, they think that it's so difficult. And I had this conversation last night. Went to a friend's birthday dinner, and I was explaining to one of his friends that I met. I said, yeah, man, I've eaten the same thing every day for probably 9 years. And, it's made some small little changes and refinements over time, but genuinely, I just eat the exact same thing every day. And it was interesting because most people say, oh, I couldn't, but I actually liked his response. He said, dude, that sounds so difficult. And I just went, nope. It's actually way easier, because to do the 80-20 thing, as in 80% healthy, 20% not healthy, you have to be way more honest and diligent and quick on your feet mentally to make the right decision in the right moment. If I eat healthy all the time, as in the 100-0, I'm 0% eating cheat meals and junk food and whatever else, I never ever have to make those decisions. I never have to exercise kind of a disciplined honesty with the food thing, because if someone says, hey, do you want this cupcake? Nope. Do you want this cookie? Nope. Do you want this? Nope, 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 nope. And surely I don't say it like that, but again, the turnaround time, I guess, of the decision making is that quick in my mind. Hey, do you wanna? I almost already know that it's gonna be a no if it's an offer of any kind of junk food or anything like that. So the decision fatigue is zero. I am not wasting my mental bandwidth on making decisions of, oh, should I eat this thing? And I might not feel too good about it later, but it looks really yummy and this and that. So to do the mostly healthy but sometimes unhealthy thing takes a lot more skill. But it's funny because people see that, oh, you never eat junk food? That must be the craziest thing ever. I promise you, when you just do something for long enough, and kind of that overwhelming stimulus of I want something but I can't have it, or I don't want something and I have to have it or do it, it dies down over time. That overwhelm starts to dissolve. So the healthy all the time is much easier. And that's kind of why I do it, because again, decisions in the food category, that is just not where I want to place my mental bandwidth. And if you're different, again, priorities, know them, make your own decisions, but that is just me. When you have a lot of energy put forth, I guess, towards the maintenance of eating healthy, eating unhealthy, eating however the hell you want, there's kind of these proprietary routines that you create, which I think is a really cool art almost, or science, I guess would be a better way to put it. So every morning after the whole routine and everything, I go into the kitchen and I do all my cooking for the day. I've talked about this a bunch. If you've heard me repeat it a million times, sorry, but not really that sorry. So I'm in there cooking 2 pounds of beef. I got the rice. I got the eggs for breakfast. I got some fruit going. Got my salt water, all kinds of stuff. But I've created this science. I've engineered my own routines around the food prep and planning. So I'll share a couple things that I think are pretty helpful. First of all, this is kind of a conceptual thing, but cooking for yourself is one of the best forms of self-care, because I'm really big on the way that you treat yourself. You are constantly taking subconscious note of the way that you treat yourself. And I think eating is literally treating yourself. I think that's one of the most direct forms of treating yourself a certain way, because you're eating something, you're digesting something external. So your choices within that, I think that holds quite a lot of weight. That's kind of a joke. If you eat too much, it holds a lot of weight, whatever. But cooking for yourself is the best form of self-care, because if you put forth work towards maintaining your health and wellness, your subconscious and probably your conscious just appreciates the hell out of that. You cook a nice meal for yourself, and then you sit down at the table and go, hey, this is sick. And especially when you cook ahead of time, and then later on in your day when you probably wouldn't have wanted to cook, well, now you just have a bowl of food that you already made for yourself. So you're kind of putting out the handshake to your past self going, hey, hell yeah, you're actually a legend for that. And stack thousands of days of doing that kind of thing, looking out for yourself, treating yourself as best as you possibly can, you kind of start to love yourself a little bit. So it's kind of a hack of building self-respect and self-admiration in kind of a healthy way. I talked about this a ton on my last podcast about how to love yourself. So if you haven't checked that out, you should definitely give that a listen. But really enjoyed talking through that. Now, this is I just looked at a little note I had written down. This is funny. So I've meal prepped for years and years. I used to do the Sunday thing and make the meals for the week, and then that sucks ass in my opinion, because by the end of the week, the food is kind of iffy, and way back then I used to be doing chicken instead of beef, and it just, I don't even want to get into it. You keep opening that Tupperware and you go, Jesus, man, what are we doing? So now I just cook my meals for each day on the given day. So I've been doing that for some years, and a couple of years ago, I would try and meal prep as far ahead in advance that I possibly could, because I just love that feeling of serving my future self in a way. And so I'm trying to make sure I explain this right, because it's kind of hard to, you'll see where I'm going with this, but it's hard to kind of conceptualize this, put it into words, or organize the ideas here. So basically, I would eat my meal for the day, and then after lunch, I would cook for my next day's lunch and dinner. So I had prepped so far in advance that I was basically, no. I was actually cooking 2 times a day, but I was doing it after each meal that I was eating. So for lunch, I would eat, and then after I would eat lunch, I would cook the next day's lunch. And I got to the point where I said, what am I doing? This is the same exact thing as if I was just cooking each meal and then eating it right then. So I worked so far in advance that I had just circled back to cooking for that moment. Here goes the dings. More text messages. But yeah, I mean, I've found myself in a couple different versions of that, because I'm very much a get ahead of things, plan for the future self or tomorrow's self, you know what I mean? And yeah, prepped so far in advance that I just circled back to where I wasn't even really prepping. I was just cooking every meal on the spot, but eating the one from the day before. Silly. So don't do that. What you should do, though, shopping in bulk. That's a really, really helpful thing. I'm eating 2 pounds of beef a day. So I just buy 30 pounds at a time, get a couple weeks in, maybe sometimes buy 60 pounds at a time, and just have the month worth of beef. Easy money. It's stocked up in the fridge. It's just take a couple bricks out of there, put it in the fridge to defrost after a couple days, and I just have my little system. But everything, I mean, I do little mini weekly grocery store runs, but all of the main stuff, it's pretty stocked up. So buying in bulk, I mean, likely it'll be a little bit cheaper. And, if you have any problems with overeating or overindulging in any kind of way, less trips to the store equals less opportunities to go buy bullshit. So that's a pretty helpful thing to just go every once in a while, stock up, and then you're not always in kind of that, ooh, should I buy this, should I not, decision fatigue. My personal cooking workflow, I don't know, maybe if you eat a similar way, you can kind of take some things from this, but essentially in the morning, again, I'm cooking eggs and then 2 pounds of beef. The 2 pounds of beef would be for lunch and dinner, and then I have rice pre-made in the rice cooker. So I'll basically just put rice in 2 bowls. I'll cook the eggs and the beef at the same time. I just put salt on everything because it's mad easy. And then the eggs finish up a little bit before the beef. Chop up the beef while it's in the pan searing. Do it all, Michelin star, beautiful gourmet ground beef and rice. And yeah, just throw it in the bowls of rice, split it up, and I got my 2 meals. You guys might find this gross, but I just leave it on the counter as kind of an experiment of, does food actually go bad when it's just sitting out for a while? Maybe you're going, yeah, dude, this has been proved already that over a certain temperature bacteria starts to grow, but I don't know. I mean, back in the day, was food just perfectly preserved? I don't know. I mean, they probably got diseases and stuff back then, but I feel like it's been building my gut microbiome, defying the rules of food preparation, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just exposing myself here. But yeah, if it's an overnight thing, I definitely would not leave food out. It's more just for the day. But yeah, utilize the fridge here and there. But I don't know. Also the microwave thing. Let me know in the comments what you know about microwaves, because I hear some people fear-mongering the hell out of it. And I hear some people going, it's not bad at all, actually. Just maybe don't stand with your head inside of it. So yeah, that's a tough one to discern there. But yeah, that's a 20-minute window of cooking all of my meals for the day, and then I just don't have to worry about it, which is super nice. A little hack, if you're traveling and you're trying to stay on top of prepping your meals, if you buy a little thermos container, so money. I used to, when I was in high school, middle school, I would bring a thermos every day, and I would just put my meals in there, a little beef and rice, chicken and rice, whatever it used to be, and it just stays hot for a long ass time. You can get one of the, I think there's Thermos brand and there's Stanley. They stay hot. If you cook a meal and put that thing in there, and another little hack within the hack, if you are cooking beef or something and you slightly undercook it, it's kind of the way to go, because you put that in the thermos, twist it up, and it contains all of that heat in a really small environment, so it continues cooking inside of the thing for a little bit, just because of how airtight it is. So doing that, and then 8 hours later, it's still perfectly fine. Perfectly hot or warm, depending on where you live. And yeah, it's kind of a great hack. And if you're flying somewhere, I always cook a meal, put it in the thermos. When I land wherever I'm going, I don't need to worry about going to eat some, I don't know, to find some swanky spot in the city I'm going to eat something. I just have a meal, and it works perfectly. So something worth trying. A little maybe $20, $30 investment for a thermos. Pretty good deal. A couple call to actions here. What to do? What the hell should you do walking away from listening to me yap about all this stuff? I think probably the best general advice of, if you want to get healthy and you want to make some real change, try cutting out highly processed foods completely. I mean, the peace of mind, the health, it's so simple. And when you get away from Lucky Charms and all this other shit, it makes life so much easier. even if you're not having problems eating highly processed foods, I think we all know that we should be avoiding that. Um, you don't know what's going inside of these things. Again, the way that you eat, the food that you put in your mouth is just a direct form of treating yourself. So don't do it mindlessly. Just get on that, get on the Whole Foods kind of wave. Not necessarily the store, but as in whole foods, single ingredient foods, that sort of deal. Um, Again, prepping, cooking for yourself, it's just a win. If you focus on convenience and that's kind of your currency, you're gonna get screwed over. I just I very heavily believe that convenience is a killer, just as mindlessness is a killer. So don't seek convenience in everything. Seek quality and health and looking out for yourself. Um, I I'm not a big calorie counter. I've counted my calories maybe 3 times just to know what I'm eating every day. Excuse me. But I eat the same thing every day, so it's not like there's a ton of fluctuation within that. However, if you're trying to make weight changes or body composition changes, track it just to know. Because awareness within your nutrition is a huge element of your success within that, or just a healthy maintenance within that. So know how much food that you're eating. Again, with these body composition changes, macros can be important. So pay attention to those things, learn more about those things. I, right now, am not worried about really changing my weight. I'm just trying to get stronger and faster and that kind of deal. So, whenever I'm hungry, I eat. Whenever I am not hungry, I rebel against my food. And oddly enough, lately I've been skipping meals. If I just can't do it, I used to sit down at the table and just friggin' cry over my meal. I'm salting it with my tears running down my face, trying to force feed myself because I wanted to gain weight and be heavier. And I don't think that emotional expenditure is worth it at all. If you are just dead not hungry, maybe don't eat. I don't think the force feeding is a very evolved kind of approach to eating. So yeah, if I don't want my dinner, I say screw it. I just put it in the fridge. And I'm the heaviest I've ever been, interestingly. And not in a bad way, because I'm kind of diced right now too. So it's the intuitive kind of eating. Now, if you're self-destructive and you just eat bullshit food all the time, intuitive eating might be a little bit skewed. So I would go for perhaps a bit of healthy restriction. And then later on down the line, when you found a good baseline, then you can kind of work in the intuitive eating. Now, the way that I like to navigate what I actually think about what I should be eating, what I find the most healthy, really anything in that world, is by listening to debates. So I feel like people kind of approach what they know or latch on to ideologically by listening to one side that's really compelling, typically the louder side. I think just a general good approach is to listen to people debate, and then whatever resonates with you most, you just say, yeah, okay, I'll go with that. And then always remain open to hearing more points, trying to dissolve the ego within the decisions that you make. I mean, this is hard even for me because people don't typically ask questions in kind of a seeking to understand kind of way. A lot of people ask questions in a seeking to win kind of way. And so in those moments, it takes a real dose of energy to kind of override the desire to say, no, you're wrong, and here's why, and just kind of argue and debate. But yeah, being able to just understand where people are coming from, consider, go, okay, yeah, that's worth thinking about. And then just being open to evolving. I've found that in the last months, I haven't really shifted on the way that I eat, but I think the way that I approach maybe advising other people, or I don't know, just judging, not in a negative way, but just making judgments or discernments based on how other people eat. I've been a little bit more open and kind of flexible with that, as long as it's not in the realm of self-destruction. So again, I think emotions and personal experience are a big part of the diet and nutrition. So it's not just a science, numbers, facts, metrics based thing. Yeah, and lastly, my little note here, I guess, is kind of the same concept as before, but just don't make a diet your religion. It's funny. I mean, I'm not a traditionally religious person, although my relationship with a lot of the things that I upkeep and manage in my life is kind of religious. But in a general sense, I imagine religion is kind of on a downslope on a societal level, which is why people find a religious attachment to stupid shit and stupid arguments. And yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but people need a purpose. And then when they see that they made improvements in their life using one kind of diet, they go, oh my God, this is everything. I got to shout it from the rooftops, and I'm going to die on this hill of being a vegan or whatever. And, again, you can mindfully eat the vegan diet and you can maintain your health. And if you feel the best doing that, then that's cool. But yeah, the religious thing I think can be a little bit problematic. But generally, again, I really hope that kind of some of these ideas can resonate with you, give you a little bit more freedom, but in the direction of being more healthy and treating yourself well. Because again, I emphasize so strongly how direct of an example eating is of self-treatment, and those things really build into your self-image over time. So there's a lot of opportunity for positive within that. There's also an opportunity to compound some negative habits over time, but the mindfulness is totally the key. That said, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would love to see you click subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. I film a podcast every week, staring down the barrel of this camera, talking my shit, and I love it. I'm having a good time. I'm getting better at it, just becoming more comfortable in this little chair here with my light and looking at my notes and the waveform of GarageBand of my voice continuing to make freaking noise. And if you liked it or loved it, you could leave a like. That would be sweet. And if you have any thoughts, questions, anything like that, drop it in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. It means a lot. I'm not super speedy at responding because I got emails, I got newsletter responses, I got Instagram, I got TikTok, I got YouTube Shorts, I have my main YouTube channel, I have the podcast channel, I have Spotify. So it's a lot of things to get to, but I do try my best, and I eventually will get back. Speaking of Spotify, here with my middle finger. If you're just listening, I was counting out the platforms on my hand. But if you're listening or watching on Spotify, leave the show 5 stars. That would be brilliant. And also comment what you thought. You can comment on Spotify, and I would love to hear it. And let's see what else. Ooh, my newsletter. I write 2 newsletters every single week. I forgot to write my newsletter yesterday, so I have to do that today. That's on the to-do list. Maybe I'll write it about something food related, because that's what I'm thinking about. But if you want to see more of my trains of thinking in a text form, word form, not me yapping form, the newsletter is the way to go. Absolutely free. Again, I send 2 of those out every single week. The link will be in the show notes or description of the episode. You can click in there, subscribe, and you can take little screenshots. If you like a quote that I write in there, you can save that, write it in your notebook, whatever you want to do. But the newsletter is pretty sweet. Couple things here. I'm looking at my closing notes list. Hey, if you would like to be a part of a group regarding self-mastery, communication, confidence, and incredible people that actually want to be better, you should check out my private community. The link to apply to that will be in the show notes and description. It is something I am very proud to continue building into the best place to workshop real ideas, real obstacles, talk to real people, including myself, instead of scrolling social media and hating everyone and getting upset. We actually seek clarity and honesty and the embracing of an awkward pause every once in a while and just being realistic and transparent. So, if you would like to see your mind go to the next level, if you'd like to see your body go to the next level, if you'd like to see your lifestyle go to the next level, click the apply link. and I'll see you in the community. And last but not least, no phone dinner. What the hell are you doing if you have your phone out while you're eating dinner? Literal crime. Literal crime. If I'm writing the law, that's a crime. You should put this stupid little thing, this guy, put it down, okay? And then you have your meal, and you eat dinner every night, embracing the present moment, embracing humanity, embracing your friends around you or your family around you or your damn self. They're all great options, but put the phone away. What are you doing? It's the no phone dinner. It's the baseline rule, fundamental, foundational. Let's make life better with one little habit called the no phone dinner. Beautiful thing. And with that, I send you off with wishes of an incredible day and an incredible life. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go have a great day. I've got philosophy club here in a little bit, so that's super fun. Got some people coming over to the crib to talk about all kinds of interesting ideas. I'm resting today because I have the Apex competition tomorrow. If you're not familiar with what an Apex is, I have a YouTube video on my main channel that I did a few months ago, actually. What am I talking about? And I'm doing the competition again tomorrow, and that's going to be sick, and I'm going to lose bad, but we're going to be filming that as well, so that'll be next week's video. So go check out the main YouTube channel. Maybe that would be my last, go give it a look kind of encouragement, but I hope you have a beautiful day. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye. And it's all because your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll. Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum.